Hello, I am Umbrenero, and welcome back to Umbrenero's Life. Today's video is Art Piece for My Husband, Part 2. So, we are back in Part 2 of making this art piece for my husband, and this took about 4.5 hours for all of the footage that is in this video. And this is a doozy, and this isn't even the end of it yet. But we get over the halfway point, which is something I am glad we got through here. As you can see, I went through and sketched a lot of shapes in each of the colored sections that I eventually will paint in, but first things first, I had to get it all sketched in, just to kind of see where they would be and all of that. I know it's hard to see on camera, but I'm glad I did this first, because otherwise I wasn't sure how I was going to make this work. And here, I got to begin painting the parts I had just sketched in. So I started at the center using the lightest color for that quadrant, basically. And just started filling in the little shapes that I had made. This took quite a while, as you can imagine, but it was worth it. The way I laid out some of these shapes was to help cover areas of the background that I didn't like how it looked, or there were little issues with. So it kind of helped cover up the minor mistakes that I was making when I did the background. Once I was done with the light color for a quadrant, I moved on to the dark color. And, like the light color, this took quite a while. But one of the things that I made sure to do in the area right where the canvases are joined is made sure to go into the crack on both canvases to make sure that no matter what way you're looking at it, you can still see the shape that I was going for. And then around the edge of this painting, with the dark shapes in particular, I did make it so they did flow off of the page. So in spots, well, not the page, in spots, they just flowed around the edge of the canvas down. And I felt that it would be neat and help fill the edge a little bit. So here you can kind of see what it looked like when I was doing it off the edge. And I tried not to use all similar sized shapes. I wanted to try to use smaller shapes just to get it broken up a little bit so it wasn't all, oh, this is all just big. Nope, that wasn't my goal. I wanted there to be some varying degrees in size. And with that, the first quarter of this was done. So I went on to the blue section. And like the red, I started in the center and worked my way out. So here I did have little spots that I did mess up a little bit with my background. That made it a little more difficult to get these shapes all painted in and look good. But I went with the flow and figured out a way to keep track of where these ended and all of that. Because in part 3, you will see how I made it so all of those shapes right there in the center of the screen did not get all blended together as a single shape later on. But because the blue section is quite a bit smaller than the red, it looks like there is less in the light blue, because it's shaped a lot differently. And I wanted to keep the light section centered more so than anything. So the dark blue got to spread out quite a bit more. And in all fairness, with the blue, I could have gone in a little bit more, but I didn't. I didn't want to feel like I was getting too close to the center, but looking at it now, I could have gone a little bit farther than I did. Then, after blue was done, I flipped the canvas and started working on the pinkish purple section. And like I said earlier, this was 4.5 hours of work that I was doing, and I didn't really take any major breaks except to go get something to drink or have a quick snack. But other than that, I was focused mostly on getting this done because I wanted this to be able to get up in his office as soon as it could be. So, after the light was done, came the dark. And on the purple, I tried to have a little bit of fun with how this looked. And I unintentionally had all of my shapes make a design in the purple that I did not notice until after I was completely done and while I was actually editing part 1 of this series that I actually noticed that this pattern was here. But in the purpley pink section, I accidentally made the shapes go in the shape of a, well, somewhat of a heart. It was funny that I didn't notice that until I was recording the audio for part 1, that I was looking at this painting and it's like, wait a minute, that's a heart. Did I just subconsciously do this without realizing it and I just noticed it now? But that's some of the stuff that happens. Is I go with the flow with a lot of the art I do, and what happens, happens, and, you know, I can't be mad. At least to me, it looks a bit like a heart because I ignore the 3 light-colored shapes in this section, and it lines up to be a pretty good heart for me. So, I like that idea instead of it's just a coincidence. This is how it looked like. But at this point, we finally reached our final section to paint. And it was the green section. So like the blue, it doesn't have a whole lot of the light color, and it has an okay amount of dark color. And at this point, it was getting harder to see the pencil lines, especially on the green. So I had to pull out my phone, use the flashlight to help me see where some of these lines were, especially along the edge, because it got a little harder here. And for some reason on my green side here, I decided to have a lot more smaller shaped, darker pieces, just because I think I was at the point where I was tired of drawing the big pieces, or this is where I started. I honestly can't remember, and that was at the start of this video. But I had fun. I was going with the flow of it. But this started to look very neat once I was getting done with this whole part. Yes, there was a little spot where when I was doing the light green, I initially missed. I did go back and fixed it by actually putting it in because I completely missed. But in part 3, you will get to see the final look of this painting. I love how it ended up coming out in the very end. Here was pretty good too. So, thank you for watching, and until next time, I am Umbrenero. Bye!